So which party is the party of deficit spending? I'm not even going to go there because the subject has been done to death. The national debt has been rising for decades under both Democratic and Republican administrations. And both parties have engaged in deficit spending, except for this one little magical time in the late 90s when Democratic President Bill Clinton cooperated with a Republican Congress to balance the budget. And at that point, I thought the magic formula was having a Democratic president and a Republican Congress until the last 25 years happened. And if you don't believe me, just ask Freedom Caucus member Chip Roy, who opted to skip out on a Republican retreat at Mar-a-Lago because he couldn't justify spending $2,000 to listen to his party make excuses for deficit spending. Now, the majority of people agree that the current levels of deficit spending are unsustainable. And right now, the amount we spend to service the debt, that is our minimum monthly payment, exceeds what we spend on the Department of Defense. And that's only going to get worse if markets get shaky and the interest rates go even higher. Now, a law was passed in 1974 outlining how Congress should go about passing their budget, and it is complicated and boring. But the gist of it is it provides oversight to how agencies spend our money and how much they get. This process has been followed exactly 4 times since the law was passed, and Congress has opted to fund the government via omnibus spending bills, which are Bible-sized pieces of legislation where all sorts of spending are crammed in, including the pet projects of party leadership and lobbyists. Now, if Congress should hold itself accountable for anything, it's knowing where our money is spent, and following this process would be a good start. But the problem is that this process involves sitting in committee and looking at numbers and compromising with the other side. So not only does it make for fewer hot takes on social media, but it also involves potentially crossing the aisle, which is a surefire way for any member of Congress to get primaried out of existence. So until members of Congress find a way to work together, they are always going to have a gun to their heads, either pass a potentially wasteful omnibus spending bill or defund the government. Now, one way to change this would be to change our system of elections to reward candidates who compromise in the interest of getting things done. One of my favorite reforms is one known as top 4 voting, which changes things in a couple of ways. First is they replace partisan primaries with an open primary, where all candidates from all parties compete for all voters, and the top 4 vote getters make it on the ballot. This takes away the power the partisan base has to decide who and who doesn't advance to the general election. Now, the general election is determined by ranked choice voting, which allows voters to throw their support behind their second, third, and fourth choice candidates as well. This works to the advantage of candidates who can appeal to more than just their partisan in-group. This is currently being used in Alaska, where Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski, I picked the picture with the headphones, managed to beat a primary challenge from the MAGA wing of her party after voting to impeach Donald Trump. So if you care about the debt, you should care about Congress working together. And if you want Congress to work together, you should really care about the reforms that give them an incentive to do so.